Everybody, and my name's Tom Soane. Hope you're all well. And today I'm going to talk you through how you can turn one rental property into 3 rental properties using none of your own cash. I know it sounds absolutely unreal, absolutely unbelievable, but let me show you. Because this all comes from a Portsmouth-based landlord called Max. Max and I had a discovery call. He's got one property that's currently rented out now, and his target or his goal was to grow his portfolio so that he could make more money, more profit, grow his wealth for his future and for his family's future. It's a very common question, very common issue, I suppose. So I thought I would record this and share it with everybody so that everybody gets that same advice too. Because look, most landlords, especially in Portsmouth, in my home city, most landlords have got 1, maybe 2 properties that are currently rented out. And everybody thinks about growing. Everybody wants to make a bit more money. Everybody wants to grow their portfolio. So it makes sense to ask this question. So today, first of all, I'm going to talk through the 3 things with you today. Number 1, what would I do? If I had one property rented out, how would I use that property to grow my portfolio, to grow my income, to grow my wealth? Number 2, I'm going to use real numbers here. So get your pens, get a piece of paper or a pad and write this down, because this is going to be real life numbers. I'll try to get them right as best I can. It's all off the top of my head, so I'll do my best. And number 3, I'm going to talk through a couple of other growth strategies with you. But most importantly, what would I do? And that's the only advice I can give. What would I do? And this all started from a discovery call with a Portsmouth landlord called Max. And do remember, everybody, there are tons and tons and tons of different property investment strategies, growth strategies, but everybody is different. So if you like this strategy here, then book a discovery call with me. You can just email me. It's tom@pinkstreet.co.uk, or you can just message me through Facebook or LinkedIn, or you can comment below and my team will get in contact with you and book a call with me. It's totally free, and I'll either work with you or I'll show you what you can do yourself. Anyway, back to Max. So Max has got a 3-bedroomed house in Southsea. And by the way, Max, if you're watching this, then thanks for letting me use your story as an example for everybody else. Hopefully we helped some other people here. So Max has got a 3-bedroomed house in Southsea, and my estate agents, Pink Street, have valued that property at £225,000. It also rents out for £910. So it's valued 225 grand. It rents out for £910 a month. Annoying figure, isn't it? I wish it was 900, much easier. Anyway, Max also has a mortgage, which is in total worth £125,000, which he pays about £360 a month. So what does that mean? He gets rent in at 910. He pays his mortgage, 360. He's left with £550 per month before management, maintenance, things like that. Now, for the purposes of this, not everybody has a letting agent managing their property. Don't know why, but not everybody does. So if you don't, I'm not going to include management and maintenance in this to make it fair for everybody that maybe doesn't have a managing agent or also does. You know what your figures are. And by the way, these comparisons can be duplicated around the country. So for an example, if you've got a 3-bedroomed house in Portsmouth, it's going to be 225. If you've got a 3-bedroom house in the northeast, it's going to be 110, something like that, for a similar like-for-like property in a like-for-like area. Midlands, the difference is about 2/3. So hopefully that will help. Rents are a bit different, but you'll know what your rent values are in your area. So what would I do? If I've got that house, it's a 3-bedroom house, 220 grand, rents out for 910, what would I do? So the first thing I'm going to say is I like safe, reliable, profitable property investments. That's easy to say. Safe, reliable, profitable. Tick, tick, tick. That's all you go for. Or that's all I go for. Now, I do have a HMO property. I do have a serviced accommodation property, but I only got those after I built a very safe, reliable, profitable portfolio. Now, I'm going to assume that I would need 60 grand to buy a house, a 3-bedroom house in Portsmouth. Now, in this instance, I would sell that house. I would take £100,000 out of that house from the sale. Because remember, it's worth 225. He's got a mortgage on it of 125,000. So I'd pay that mortgage off, 100 grand in my bank. Result. Then I would buy 3 properties with 100 grand. I know. How can you buy 3 properties in Portsmouth with 100 grand? I'm going to show you, I promise. Now, also remember, this won't happen today. This isn't an overnight thing. There's so many investors that want it all today. There's so many people that want free money, easy money. There's no such thing. There's so many training courses out there that tell you, I don't know, you can buy 10 properties in 10 days, or you can get 5 grand a month without any money. It just doesn't work like that. And all of those headlines that you see, they're all hooks. That's what they are. And it's the same for me. I mean, I've put a title on this video to attract people to watch, because for me, more views, more reach, more awareness for my letting agency, for my estate agency, more awareness for my podcast, my property broker, my mortgage broker, and for my future videos. Simple as that. But when it comes to things like training courses and special techniques that no one else knows about so you can have property for free, a good investor has a good plan, a personal plan, and uses time and discipline to grow. It's not about get it all today. It's about growing, and that's what you need to focus on. So I'm going to show you how. So if I sell this property for £100,000, that starts a 2-year plan for me, in my mind, the way I've calculated this. A 2-year plan, which at the end of it, I will have 3 properties. I'm going to be quite general here. I'm going to work on flip to let properties, which effectively is where you buy a property, you do it up, and then you let it out. And I'm going to look at 2 to 3 bedroom houses, because remember what I said, I like safe, reliable, profitable. Now, assuming you've bought that property through my property broker, off market, below market value, good solid property investments, these are the properties that I'm going to talk through now. If you buy it on the open market, by the way, you won't get these deals. So hopefully you can just tailor this strategy to your own situation. It just means you might take a bit longer if you don't buy a property through my broker. Anyway, the deal I'm going to show you right now is a current deal as well. So it's a 3-bedroom house. This is what we're going to go for. I've got 100 grand in my bank. Remember, I've just sold that house. So we're going to go for a 3-bedroom house in Southsea. The purchase price is £180,000. It's going to need a £15,000 refurbishment. Nothing dramatic. We're not rebuilding anything here. We're just doing a kitchen, a bathroom, floors, walls, clear out, tidy up, repairs. Simple as that. About 15 grand. Maybe a little bit less, but I'm allowing 15,000. It's going to be about 10 grand worth of stamp duty, fees, legal costs, all of that sort of stuff. So I've worked out that all in all, this house is going to be all in for £205,000. Bought it for 180, spent 15,000 on the refurbishment, spent 10,000 on stamp duty and fees, all in £205,000. Now, remember, you bought this below market value as well. So once it's all done, it's now worth 225,000. So you are all in for 205,000, but it's now worth 225,000. Result. And that's what we're going for. That's what I would call a flip to let. It's basically where you flip it round into something more profitable. You keep it, you rent it out, and then you refinance it so you get all the money back out. So this deal that I'm talking about here, the rent is worth $950 per month. And that one, by the way, is an average deal from my mortgage broker. Some people prefer much higher risk properties, not me. I like good houses, good tenants, reliable growth, good profit, and it's normally about 10% yield, I would say, as a minimum. So we now have this 3-bedroomed house. It's done up, it's refinanced, and it's all great. So what did we do? We bought property number 1, which we needed £60,000 of cash. Because remember, you need to put down 25% as a deposit if you're going to buy an investment property, right? So you need £60,000 because that also includes your deposit, your refurb, your fees. Let's just say one property, £60,000 of your own cash. Once you've refinanced it, you've paid off the old mortgage, you're only going to leave 30 grand in property number one. So now you own a property, but you're only leaving £30,000 of your own cash in that property. And that's because you've paid off the purchase mortgage and you've got some of the money back out. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense and you're still with me. If you need help, by the way, with a mortgage broker, just let me know. I'll just connect you up if you want to email me or comment below. I'll connect you up with my mortgage broker if you need it. Now I'm going to rent it out for $950. So what have I got? I've got one property. I rent it out for $950 per month. I've got 60 grand left now in my bank because remember I started with £100,000 cash and hopefully you're still with me. Started with £100,000 cash, used 60 to buy this property number one. And then I refinanced that property. I got 30 grand of my own cash back out. I've now got 60,000. But I also have £550 per month coming in as profit. Get $950 rent, I pay the mortgage, I got another $550 a month coming in. Nice. So generally speaking, it's going to take you 3 months to purchase a property, 1 month to refurbish a property, and 1 month to refinance a property, generally speaking. So now we're in month 6, because remember, you did this job, that started your 2-year plan. Now we want property number 2. So you're going to go, that's going to probably happen in 6 months by the time you've bought it, refurbished it, refinanced it. So in month 6, you now have property number 2. You're going to use that 60 grand that you've got in your bank. That's gone to buy property number 2. You're then going to refinance property number 2 and you're going to leave 30,000 in property number 2. So now you've got 30,000 of your own cash left in property number 1 and you've got 30,000 of cash left in property number 2. Both properties are renting out for $950 per month. Nice. So now you've got 30 grand of cash in your bank and you've got £1,100 a month of profit coming into your bank. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, yes, I promised you 3 properties, right? So here we go. Remember what I said earlier, it's all done over time. You have to set a plan and stick to that plan to go towards your target. So now we're in month 24, 2 years down the line since you bought property number 1. You've got 30 grand in your bank and you've got £1,100 a month profit coming in. Now, this is when you're going to need your pens and paper. We're going to refinance property number 1 because at that time you took out, I know, a 2-year fixed rate. That's the end of that 2 years now. Means you can refinance it again or remortgage it again. Basically just change your mortgage to a new one. But also you bought it below market value and it's now worth more than it was 2 years ago. Let's just say it's increased by 10 grand in 2 years. It probably could be more, but let's just say 10 grand. It's increased in value. You can now refinance 75% of the new value. And that means you're going to be able to get a new mortgage of 176,000-ish rather than the original mortgage of 168,000. So you pay that one off, you get £8,000 in your bank. So now you've got £38,000 in your bank. Plus, you've had 2 years worth of £550 profit coming in from property number 1. That's 13,000. So that's just put, where are we? So that's 38. That's 51,000. Plus, you've had 18 months of £550 per month coming in from property number 2. That's another 10,000. So now we're at 61,000. There's your 60 grand cash. There's property number 3. So what are you left with? You do the same job again because those houses are easy to come by, especially if you buy through my property broker. So now what you've got after 2 years, you have 3 properties. you have an income of 1,650, maybe 1,700, something like that. Because remember, rent values go up too. So say £1,700 a month of profit coming into your bank, and you've got 3 properties from one. And if you look at it, you haven't used any of your own cash. All of that money is in the property that you started with. It's difficult for me to talk these things through and just give you figures just like that. Easy. It might take a couple of watches of this video to really absorb the numbers. And all people are different. All properties are different. But what we've done is we've sold the existing property and got 100,000 back out. We've put down a deposit on property number 1. Then we've put down a deposit and refurb on property number 2. Then we've accumulated that profit until we can refinance and buy property number 3. And that is the key. If I was to condense all of this down without using figures or anything like that or explanations, you use what you've got as well as you can. So you use the cash in property number 1 to buy property, use the cash in the existing property to buy property number 1, property number 2. Then once you've accumulated that cash, this is where a lot of people go wrong. They set a plan and then they spend all their profits. Set the plan, stick to the plan, and then at the end of that plan, you've got additional money, additional properties, additional wealth. Nice. So if you think of it like this, if you now are sat at property number 3, you've got £1,700 or £1,650 coming in every single month as profit. You've got 3 properties. Do you stop there or do you continue? Because remember, you've got £1,700 a month plus growth of the value of your property. Do you stop there or do you continue? Well, I would carry on if it was me. And you also keep an eye on the values. You know, values shoot up. It might make more sense to now sell one of your properties to then do the same again, right? Anyway, so I promised you a couple of other strategies. You could go for a HMO or serviced accommodation. HMO is a house of multiple occupancy, which basically means you rent it out room by room. Now, that is a much higher reward. You definitely get more money coming in, but it's also much higher risk. Tenants in those properties are short-term. They're also higher maintenance properties because people tend not to look after them as much. There's also an absolute ton of legislation around houses of multiple occupancy. You could also do a serviced accommodation or a holiday let, which is where you just advertise it for rent on Airbnb, Booking.com, Facebook, various different places, and rent it out to holiday makers. Yeah, it's got to be a bit of a demand area. It's got to be in the right place. It's got to have the right furniture, the right items inside. Look, places with parking are always good as well. You also have to check your lease, by the way. If you've got a leasehold property, check that before you rent it out as a holiday let. But you also have to be a bit more hands-on, a bit more involved in those types of property investments. So it depends what you want. Or you can just refinance your existing property. If you're not looking to turn one property into 3, maybe it's just one property into 2, then you could just refinance the existing property and take as much money out as you can and use that money to reinvest. For me, it's always all about safe, reliable, profitable properties. And I mean safe as in it's a regular bread and butter property which is in high demand all the time. They always rent out fast. It's always the type of property that most people want to live in. Reliable meaning reliable tenants are attracted to this property. It's reliable in terms of there's lots of other properties to compare values to. And then profitable is inevitable. You have to be profitable. My letting agency, Pink Street, manage all my properties for me, so I don't ever have to get involved in them. Because look, I make profit in money, in time, in energy, in mental health. You know, I definitely didn't get into property to take on a second job. You know, I've got a pretty rough job as it is, and I, I definitely don't want to do more. Try to remember in all of this as a little line, and I would say write this down. This is something that you should live your life by in property. Your property is nothing more than an investment vehicle which is designed to make profit without you. I love that line. It's designed to make profit without you. There's no point in investing in a property and then using all of your time and effort in running it. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense. What we've done there is we've taken one existing property, we've sold it, and we've reinvested the money in better properties, more profitable properties to grow the portfolio. There's loads of investment strategies and everybody's different. So if you want me to talk you through your own situation, your own strategy, then just schedule a discovery call with me. I'll give you as many options as are possible. I'll give you my advice as well. It's totally free. But you have to reach out to me. You have to comment below. You have to message me through Facebook or email me, tom@pinkstreet.co.uk. So I hope that makes sense. I've just seen a couple of messages come through on my messenger, so I'll do my best. Thank you very much for the questions. I'll do my best to answer those now, and hopefully that has helped. So if you've got one property, you can turn it into 3. Why not? We're all about growth. Take care, everyone.